Part of the changes that we make as athletes is also to our brain. It's not just to our body. We think about it in terms of the physicality, but there's also even the physical aspects of our own brain, which are malleable, which are changeable. And neuroscience now proves that the brain can change itself. And so that's how it gets the term plasticity, plastic. So a lot of the way that we tend to get ourselves into trouble with training is not so much the physicality, it's the way that our brain is wired and how those thought patterns have been formed. And if you think about your thoughts, you'll often find yourself, if you observe them, you'll often find yourself thinking the same things day in and day out. Don't change a hell of a lot. That's not so helpful when you're trying to make a big change physically towards a big race, is it? There's not a lot of help there. So in order to make those changes to the plastic brain, we need to change the way we think, or to move the way we think, or to move it elsewhere. Certain things like anchoring in the body, feeling your feet in contact with the ground when you run, for instance, is a ripper. I mean, the biofeedback that you get between your body and your brain is amazing when you pay attention to the soles of your feet in contact with the ground. And you can try that out any day in training. It's pretty simple, right? So that's an opportunity that you should take up to find out where the dysfunction is, where the wedge is in between your physical body and your plastic brain, and how your thoughts impact your training on a day-to-day level. But let's just look at it this way. In terms of training, we need to learn how to embrace the suck, so to speak. I mean, intense training sessions, they hurt, right? It's uncomfortable. There's pain and there's suffering. High speeds, high lactates, high heart rates equate to a whole lot of suck. But does it really? I mean, sometimes it feels good, you know, but sometimes it's like pulling teeth. Sometimes I can't figure out if I'm physically exhausted, mentally exhausted, or both. And that's the opportunity to drop the thinking and just be with what's happening. But it is a dilemma if we don't. And we can't figure it out because what's really happening is that we're not feeling it out. So I'm going to throw you down a challenge here to simply relax and observe. And that's what the practice with the footfall does. But you can apply to any part of triathlon or any other endurance sport for that matter. Put your mind to the sword here by putting all your focus into relaxing into the discomfort. And when the mind breaks in and the repetitive thought breaks in and wants to make a story of what's happening, refuse it. You know, refuse it access and stay with your experience as an observer only. And that's what happens when you pay attention to your feet, for instance. And it sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? And we're all capable of this because whether we realize it or not, we're always the observer and we choose whether we allow the mind to get involved or not, whether we let it become a wedge, a block, a repetition, an idea, a concept. If we think our only option is the mind, then the chaos of the mind is the only option we've got in practice. So the practice is to stay in observer mode and not move into victim mode, which is important for an athlete. Because victim mode requires a story, some semblance of a narrative that moves into judgment of what's happening here and now. And we do this through sheer habit. It's what we were taught to do. You know, however, this teaching is not hardwired. And none of it is. Getting back to the plasticity again. We can rewire the path simply by refusing the thoughts that trigger the story that lead to the victim mode. In the observer mode, we're simply the witnessing state of awareness to what's happening right here and now, to what's occurring. This doesn't mean that, you know, we won't feel it in the body, nor somehow transcend the discomfort. But by staying out of judgment, you only have to deal with what's actually happening, not the porcupines and the stories and the victim roles of the mind tend to go into when they start the dialogue of pure BS that surrounds this victim mode, this repetitive victim mode that we put in ourselves day to day. And for some, it's a full-blown revelation, you know, to find that they have a choice. that we actually have a choice. And do you know, like any muscle though, if you want to strengthen it, you have to use it. If you want to make changes, you have to lay new pathways. Bottom line is every session and every second is another opportunity to work with transcending the mind and working directly with the process through pure observation. And how are we going to do that? I want to say, give your complete attention to what you feel is the discomfort and the pain and refrain from mentally labeling it. Leave the tags alone. Leave the labels alone. Nothing will move you into victim mode faster than labeling and judging. And that's a habit. That's a habit. So as you allow the discomfort, stay completely with it. Resist the mental temptation to turn away and disassociate. Observe it, but don't act on it. And make it a practice every session and keep watching with interest. Get curious. Allow yourself that curiosity. What happens if I just keep watching and not resist this? What changes? Now you're involved in the most profound athletic inquiry there is, because you're actually changing your own brain. And it's proven. It's science. So keep pouring this awareness, the very center of the discomfort, and allow the discomfort to fill every seat in the house. Say yes to it. Invite it in. Invite it in to sit down. Be curious enough to find out what it's actually made of. And a lot of time you'll find out it's made of your own thinking. But don't overanalyze it. Give your body a break from the constant dialogue of your own mind. Trust me, it needs it. That's how it changes. When I flinch, do I really need to, or do I just think I need to waste that energy? When I screw my face up, do I need to do that or not? What changes in my body when I refuse to label the pain or tense up? Is it a thought or is it felt? Which is it really? Because if it's felt, surely that's the purpose, to feel it. There must be a design there somewhere that transmutes that pain. And there is. And it's available. And this is the main point. The reason we focus on things like process is that if we want to transmute it, if we want to change it, develop, have it evolve, then we need to change the way our brain operates. But evolution has always required some sort of revolution. The revolution I'm talking about is an inner revolution for yourself, you the athlete. So stop turning away from the discomfort. Stop resisting. Stop the stories and making yourself the victim. You know, bring these choices that we unconsciously make into the light. And when you choose to label, judge, complain about the discomfort, catch yourself in it and simply observe what's happening for you. How does it shut your body down? Where does it disconnect? Where do you lose your biofeedback, your neural biofeedback? Make this unconscious track fully conscious and watch how it affects your process. Your training, your racing, everything expands. Pain and discomfort are an opportunity. They're the biggest opportunity that you could ever know. You know, this realization that pain moves when you completely get inside it, that aha moment that can change the way you deal with discomfort forever once the brain realizes it. And the pathway is enhanced and improved. All of this observing requires you to move from the seat of your own mind and thinking into the seat of awareness. Where I'm might add, you can become aware that the mind arises in awareness and dissolves back into it again. Where does it come from? Where does it go to? We don't track it. We don't know. Of course not. And when you move into the seat of this awareness that our brain is running, you're moving into the true power of an athlete. You're now no longer a victim. You make no detrimental self-judgments about yourself. The process or the discomfort in it, that's all there is. You're just dealing with the facts. You're not a politician. There can be no other opportunity as great as this one. In terms of training hacks, this is the mother of all hacks. Nothing can measure up, because when you are the observer, you are the existence itself. You are the athlete. You are the person that's watching. You are primary. The second you move from the primary seat in the sporting process, the second you start to bleed your own true power and believing that you're not good enough. And it's a story. Give up the search for the outer hacks. There aren't any. The further you get from the truth of your own power, the further away from your own potential you get. And that's why I say, embrace the suck. Inform your brain of the same thing. Get after it.